So this is the Brahma One Nation podcast with my boy Byron Rodgers, 3-1 Lima Company motivator. How you doing, man?
Boom, man, I'm doing good. It's an honor to be here. It's an honor to be here. And so thanks so much for inviting me, man. Thanks for inviting me, Ray.
Absolutely, absolutely. We honestly, man, I love the stuff that you do. Besides the fact that I go to a 511 tackle store and I see one of the Marines I served with, I'm like, I know him. I know that.
That's awesome, man.
We got to talk to you, man. We got to see what the secret sauce is. For me to be replicating.
Um, no, thanks so much for everything you said, man. It's an honor. Dude, it's relationships at the end of the day. Before I forget, though, I want to also say that I really appreciate seeing the things that have been happening with our foundation and everything since you've been running the show, like just the branding and the media efforts and the merchandise and all that stuff. You're like building an actual brand out of this thing, which then turns into something that we're proud of who we are and where we come from, but it really turns into something that, we can really be proud of. It is like a real thing, it's an entity. We obviously carry it in our being, but it's good to see, hey dude, I can go get a 3-1 a Brahma mug, or I can go and I can rep my stuff, that's cool. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I'm happy to serve that need, and I think, in a sense, I serve that need for myself too, because really, like, the only T-shirts I have are 3-1 shirts. So
Heck yeah.
Worn out, I'm like, oh man, I need a new one. So now I can actually go in and create some new ones and be able to buy one myself and help everybody else out. But we want to hear about you, man. So tell me what's going on in your world. What is Byron Rodgers up to?
What's going on in my world? Right now, in the forefront of my mind, I'm working. I'm flying, man. I'm getting after it. Just got my master's degree, North Central University, Master's of Arts in Psychology. I went like psychology pretty much through my bachelor's and master's, and with a minor in forensic psychology. So that's done. That was done a few months ago. Hallelujah. Thank God. Praise Jesus. I'm happy about that. Got the baby on the way. First one. Never done it before.
Congratulations. That's awesome.
Thank you. We all knew I was going to have a girl, so that's happening. Hopefully the next one I can have a little boy, and I can teach him the ways of, Double O, Lance Kilotron, Rodimus Maximus, King of the Lance Corporal Underground. You know what I'm saying? And then, so that's happening. Dahlia Rose Rodgers will be her name. And then finally, like, my biggest kind of thrust right now is for the Protector Symposium that's going to be happening in Riverside, California, November 15th and 16th, as a result of my podcast, Executive Protection Lifestyle. And that's all about making good people more dangerous. So that's going to be real cool.
Absolutely, man. I'd love to hear more about that, because I think it's really cool. So, like, I little side story myself is I remember don't remember exactly when the time, but it was timer. Is kind of like one of those days where I was just pissed off at the world, and I didn't know what it was. I was scrolling through on Instagram or something like that, and I see this video of Byron Rodgers. I'm like, what is this? And you're like,
really?
And I listened to it, and honestly, man, I was blown away. It changed my perspective at that moment. So I think it's really cool to see something like your podcast grow into such a big thing, especially with now the symposium going on. So,
man,
that's pretty awesome.
Dude, thanks so much, man. Like, yeah, I'd say, like, if I could give any of us any advice, man, it'd be follow your heart, go with your instincts, screw your friends. If they say something you like is stupid, do it anyway. Find out how stupid it is for yourself, because you just never know where you're going to end up. Being, the types of guys that we are and the things that we've done, there's no stinking reason you're not getting after it, okay? Like, get after it. But, like, there've been a lot of steps on my journey that have been like, I mean, friends, people I love, you know, and this is no fault of theirs. Your friends want to protect you. They want to keep you safe. They don't want to see you make a fool of yourself. They don't want to see you fail. They don't want to have to pick the pieces up. You know, when you fall apart, you inevitably fall down, and you need to fall down, and you're gonna fall down. It's gonna be great. That's how we become Marines. We became hard because we went to a place where they trained us, they taught us. Got punched in the face a couple times. You realized you weren't gonna break. You know, and that's what the journey's all about. But go after what it is you stinking love, no matter what anyone thinks. And I mean, dude. I'm about to go. I'm in like second gear. But I'm sitting there and I'm like,
Letting the cage open, just go.
like because it's my heart, man. Like our dudes are close to my heart. What we did is close to my heart, and I see us all like out here in this first civilian division, and it's like I remember in 2011, I felt like we got ambushed. Like I felt like our platoon got like freaking ambushed, and we were just like shattered. We were like all over this like civilian world, and like everyone's trying to figure out how to make it, and like my dudes are out there like working these dead end jobs and doing all this stuff, and like and the attrition of this first civilian division is like sneaky. It seems like everything's easy, but like, you want to kill yourself, you do it wrong after 5 or 10 years of this crap. You know what I mean? Like, and it's like, and what I found is, man, we got to find our new fight, like every single one of us, because once you're a warrior, man, you can't unsee what you're seeing. You can't. It requires a death to let that go, in my opinion. You know what I mean? Like, it really requires a death. And that atrophy of identity, the atrophy of who you really know and believe you are based on the things that we did, which is the most like intense and experientially rich content you're probably going to have for most of your life. The atrophy of that identity, when you look in the mirror and you see you've gained, 5, 10, 15, 20 pounds, and like the version of you looking back at you is something that the former and most prized you is like kind of disgusted with, and like you've lost yourself, man, and you know how long it'll take to get back. That atrophy of that identity is what I think causes a lot of us to like give way to hopelessness, give way to taking our own lives and things like that. Like, so if I was going to say what the magic is, find your own fight and fight that trash fearlessly. Fight it harder than we fought any enemy we had to band together. Fight weaker versions of yourself, and never, ever, ever give up. It doesn't even matter if you get there. What really matters is who you become on the way there, because that's the stuff that like no one can take from you, because they're not there when you get it. They're not there. No one was there with me at the gym at 5 a.m. this morning. Yeah, I mean, like, so, I get to know who I am, what I'm capable of, have self-respect, the most important respect, and know that my willpower is legit. Yeah. That's a daily thing, man. I think that's how you survive and then eventually thrive in this game out in the first civilian division, bro.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree, man. I think the what you call the atrophy of identity, I'm going to definitely have to steal that from you. That's honestly exactly what it is. I remember getting out in 2006, or right at the end of 2006, beginning of 2006, in 2006, I'm leaving, and I remember getting my DD 214, and it was like the process I've ever gone through in my life. It was just, okay, sign here, thank you, congratulations, bye. It was it. And I walked out the door, and I'm part of the first div, right? But there's no hazing, there's no entrance into it. It's just be you. And for the first few years, I was like, I don't know who I am. I don't know what this thing is. And constantly kind of thinking of, okay, am I still the Marine, or am I something new? And thing is trying to figure out what that fight is, your why, what is the thing you're doing, and try to push towards that no matter what, and keep going. And I think the thing that was hard for me to learn, one of the things that I've learned from your podcast, is that it's okay to fail.
Yeah.
Try and fail. I was so afraid of doing something wrong, or getting a bad grade, or having a project not go the way I wanted it to go, and until I just started saying, like, you know what, whatever, right? Let's push forward. And exactly what you said, that's when I started to figure out who I was, and where I could go to, because I started allowing myself to kind of hit those bumps in the road, and build myself. So definitely.
Yeah. And the other thing too, man, is because I think what makes the first div so stinking dangerous, and this is my book, by the way, That Atrophy of Identity, Finding Meaning After the Military, shameless plug. I literally wrote that book for us, bro. Like, I literally was like looking around, dudes were taking hits, and I was like, I gotta figure something out. I literally got into psychology because one of my homies was so lazy. And you know who he is. I love him. I care for him. He's one of my best friends in the world. And I just remember being like, you are so lazy. Your whole life is going to go by you. And I remember being like, I got to figure out how to motivate this guy. I got to figure out how to motivate him, or else I'm going to be picking up pieces here in a few years. And that's actually what got me into psychology. But the other thing I was going to say is ease, man. What makes the first civ div so stinking dangerous is the comfort of it, man. We were born again hard through hardship, but out here, this is one of my favorite quotes. Miles Monroe, the late Miles Monroe, dropped this on me back in the day. Nothing will lead you closer to destruction than comfort. Nothing will lead you closer to destruction than comfort. Man, that trash right there. I mean, it's complacency kills, but just said differently. And that right there, man, comfort is like a target indicator. It's a trigger point, because you'll blink and you'll see that the easy road becomes unbearably difficult in the end when you're underdeveloped and you have nothing, for trying to take that route. And then when you're like, there's a poem called, I think the line is like "forever useless." I always want to quote it. It's like one of the best ones I've heard, and I've got to find it. I can't find it right now, but say again.
Paraphrase it, but it's okay.
And I mean, it just talks about there are men in corners of the world basically that are like, they're hiding from hardship, and they're basically like doing what's comfortable, and they're doing things that come with ease and all these other things. They have these great ideas, and they don't take action on them, and they just like keep going, and they don't think about it, and then they get a little bit older, and then one day when their youth has left them, and their vitality's left them, and their strength has left them, they finally get up the internal courage to go ahead and do the things they want to do with their life that they love, and they spring up only to be terribly disappointed that they no longer have the ability to do these things. They don't have the vigor. They don't have the, the tools, the things that they took for granted when they were younger, and they die quietly and miserably, forever useless. And that scares the trash out of me, man. But yeah, man, the first civilian division, I've found it to be, when Viktor Frankl says there should be a statue of responsibility on the West Coast to balance out the Statue of Liberty, I agree 100%. Because if you're literally listening to this and you're one of the homies and you hate yourself and you hate your life and you're jammed up and you don't know how to fix it, what I would say to you is find a purpose, find a fight, start fighting that fight. Progress equals happiness. If you make progress in a 24-hour period towards something that you even think might make you happy, guess what? You'll go to bed with a better feeling in your gut. You'll go to bed that exact night, that day, being like, well, you know what? I whipped it on and I made a little bit of progress. Progress equals happiness. Happiness can't be pursued. It's got to ensue. It comes as a result of right action. So, like that, if nothing else can keep you alive, man, fight that trash the way we fought for all the other things that we fought,
Now, I remember something you said once on your podcast, that you were saying that it honestly was a life-changing to me. It was so simple, and it was something that you just forget. One, you said you create your own heaven and hell, which I was like, that's absolutely correct. And then you start talking about how I think it was 3 things. You said you have 3 things that you have to do that day, no matter what. You said you may die that day, but you're going to get those 3 things done, no matter what. And I just became like the motivated, like Marine. Like I just started like, okay, 3 things. I can do that. 3 things I need to do today and get it done. I just started pumping it out, and honestly, like, you're right. Like it allows you to kind of turn that corner. Even small little victory allows you to turn that corner and kind of find that progress and find that happiness again. So,
heck yeah, dude. Because we have these awesome engines we were given, man, that we built. Like, dude, like the amount of discipline and the ability to suffer well that we have, and the honorable, like, just to do the trash we did, you have the keys to the kingdom. It's just, we need focus and we need purpose, man, because we you know, your Marine Corps experience can become your identity. That's why you're telling these stories long after, like, your wife doesn't give a dang about your stories anymore, you know, because it's like, this was my identity. Dude, little secret, right? I watched Steers of the Sun last night, right? And this was a movie that was like half responsible for my enlistment. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, I loved this movie. Oh man, but like, I say all that to say, I don't want to get sidetracked into that. This is funny, but what I say all that to say is, like, uh, we have this ability that we've exercised that's dormant in us. We have the programming, we have the software in us, and it's just amazing how much fulfillment and gratification and how validating it can be to your inner psychic world and your personal identity to be able to access and leverage those gears and run that software again. And it can actually be like, it's like, I don't have to go assault a freaking village or do some crazy trash today. Like, I can literally look at, like, hey dude, this is my mission for today. I got these 3 things. Come hell or high water, Murphy can jump out with a baseball bat and an ice pick. I'm gonna freaking whip it on with him. I'm getting these 3 things done. And that adds so much gravity and purpose, and it will unlock positive things in our lives, because you start to use your Marine Corps, your training, your mindset, your mission oriented, goal oriented, get it done. Don't ask me how I'm going to get it done, but I'm going to get it done. This, you know what I mean? Like, and that stuff, it brings us back to life, man.
Yeah, definitely. And I think one thing that it kind of makes me think of is, like, you're talking about, like, telling those stories. And my wife, I think, lost interest in my stories probably year 6. She gave me a good 6 years of, like, oh, stories. And after that, she's like, I've heard of it. No. But what took me a long time to figure out was that all the stories that I kept thinking about, the good ones and the bad ones, because I think we focus on those at different times, is that, you know, in telling your story, you're talking about the past, but your story's not finished. So if we spend so much time talking about the past and telling our stories, right, we forget that we're still writing our story. We're still producing it, and we got to put that effort in. And I wish it was something I would have learned as soon as I left the Marine Corps, or maybe something I grasped when I was just a young buck. But it took some hard lessons to kind of get to that point and be able to kind of move forward. So I really think that that's a good thing. But I want to, not just about the symposium, but everybody I talked to, I forgot who I was talking to. I was talking to somebody about you, and they're like, "Oh yeah, he's a sheriff's deputy." And I was like, I don't think he is. He has his own security company and he does some modeling and stuff like that. And they're like, "No, he's a sheriff's deputy. I've seen a picture of him. He's sheriff's deputy." And I saw the picture that he was talking about. I was like, "Dude, it's a 511 tactical advertisement." I was like, "He's not a sheriff's deputy. He's just awesome. That's why he's in there." So you got to talk to me, like, how did you get into that? Was that like wake up, create a security company, have an awesome podcast, become a 511 tactical model, and you're like, done, 3 things? Like,
No, so I guess it's the magic beans, man. This podcast, the magic beans. This is the magic beans, bro. You just go after what it is you want and love in life, and you just believe in it, and you do it anyway. So, like, as you guys know, I got the executive protection, like, while I was still at 3-1. Like, I was running around, hustling with my homies, paying dudes to cover my posts so I could, like, go on crazy trips with clients, like, yeah, like overseas. Like, I was in other countries, dude. Like, they're gonna flag me as I come back into the country. Like, I was doing all kinds of hood rat stuff. You know me, bro. You know what I'm saying? King of the Last Purple Underground. You know what I'm saying? But I was. So I did all that, and then I got connected with some of my good friends, like Luke Agajanian. He's like really the one who brought me into executive protection. Then we're at the range one day, and he's like, what did I do? I was going to go shoot a shooting competition with him, and he was like, "Oh, you're finally going to learn how to at a shoot, and I was like, "Look, you talking to?" You know, like, "Do you know who I is?" You know, so I was like, he was like, "Yeah. We'll see when you get there." So I went with him, and then like there were like 14-year-old girls smoking me with pistols, and I was like, I desperately need to up my game. So I got into that. Then I started recording my like actual strings of fire when I was competing. Then I started putting it on Instagram. Now, mind you, I'm the slowest shooter in my whole squad. I'm the worst. Like now it's not so bad. Like I'm like intermediate kind of. But like the dudes I run with, like it just like I make it look good. Like I work out more than they do. Love them. But so then I started doing that, and they're all making fun of me. They're like, "Dude, you just got here. Like, what are you doing, recording yourself and putting this like out?" And honestly, man, that's how it started. And then, like, what, 2 years later, here we are. I've like, my IG's blown up. Like, I'm at like 30,000 on 3 or 4 of my own accounts, and I have like, I've modeled for Vertex and 511 and a bunch of armor companies, and things have been happening, dude. So like literally it all started with me being like, nah, I think this is cool. I'm fitting to put it on my Facebook, my Instagram. And my dude's being like, you're a joke. I'm like, no one else knows that. I think I'm cool. I'm a joke only here with you. So, now I'm actually decent. But yeah, dude, and then like one thing and then obviously, you get that progress and it leads to more progress, and then I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna start a podcast on EP, and then one of my dudes like, no one's gonna listen to you. You're too young, and now it's the biggest, most influential podcast in the private security industry. Yeah, I mean, like, I'm telling you, dude, if you like stickers, freaking make a business out of stickers, man. Like get after it, whatever it is, because I mean, with the amount of connectivity we have online, there's someone digging whatever you're into, and if you're passionate about it, you'll do good enough with it in order to find your tribe. And you might not be able to like be a billionaire doing it, but your life will be so much better. So like, yeah, dude, the magic beans was I was just crazy enough to like start being vulnerable enough to put myself out there.
Yeah, and I think that's the hard part. At least for me, the hard part is getting past that kind of that anxiety about being on social media or having like somebody else's opinion about it. You're like, you know what, this is my thing. I'm gonna put it out there and do it. And I'll be honest, man, like I would have never guessed that you were the slowest in your squad, or you didn't, that you didn't know what you're doing when you got there, because I've always watched your videos. And I'm like, man, I need to go shooting. Like I need a lesson from Rodgers, man. Like I'm horrible at this, and I've finally been practicing with a group and found out that I had no idea how to shoot a pistol all these years. So
yeah,
kind of jumping into it, but I think that's so the podcast is just blowing up. So how do you go from the podcast to the symposium? Because I think that's a really cool jump, from kind of a comic connection to an actual connection where people are coming together, sharing that knowledge, and really kind of getting that information out there. How do you jump to that?
So here we go back to, and I talked about this on IG this morning, right? Like you find a purpose. It's like a hot chick. Like you're like, yo, I'm totally feeling this chick right now. Like I'm gonna go after her. I'm gonna go do everything I can. And then you start hitting on her, like right when you get up there, you start to realize like, yo, what am I doing? This is crazy. You know what I mean? Like, so it's like this carrot, like you're like, I'm about to do this. And so I've just had it inside me. Like I want to do a live event. I want the theme to be making good people more dangerous. I want, and I carried the podcast inside me for, however long it took for me to sack up and actually do it, which was like months and months and months of just being like, I really need to do this. I really should do this. I really need to do this. I really should do this. And, like our ideas don't make us special. Our ability to execute on those ideas is what makes us special, and I just am like, historically have been one of those dudes that's crazy enough to get punched in the face. You know what I mean? It's been crazy enough to be like, you know what? I'm gonna get in the ring and I'm gonna figure this out. I'm not that smart. I'm not that big. I'm like kind of one of those, kind of always been a little kind of in between. My drill instructors are like, Rodgers, you're not that smart. You're gonna be really strong. You know what I mean? Like I could never really kind of remember everything. I had to write all kinds. You made me write sentences, I mess stuff up all the time. You know what I mean? Like I just was never all that. So So that gave me this one, ability to kind of be humble, because I know I'm really actually just kind of a dyslexic, like, jock dude. And two, like, also made me realize I had to work really hard for what I want. So honestly, I'm getting distracted. But so the way I got there is I launched the podcast, and it just has been doing really good, because the private security industry, it's a bunch of cool guys who are too cool for school and are all really like secretive and like really like, it's like this like humility. Some guys have actually like the right humility. Most guys have a false humility, and they're just insecure about being exposed, and they're like, don't put themselves out there, you know? And I hide my information and you hide your information. So the podcast is like, a place where I'm just giving everyone the keys to the kingdom. This is how you get into executive protection. This is how you do a good job at it. It's not this cool, but it is cool in this way, And so that has really unified a lot of people in the industry to like, thank God someone's finally like helping other people do a good job of this. And then I want to expand the brand, because American culture is changing. We have active human threat scenarios happening on a monthly basis. And I see the need. And these guys are running around in our country like schwacking, double digits, hitting double digit kill counts. It's like the newest first person shooter, right? Game. So, I see in other countries like Israel, they got terrorist attacks all the time, but it's more like terrorist shows up with a gun and like shoots 1.5 people, gets shot by everyone. Like the kill counts like onesies, twosies, you know what I mean? Like terrorist runs over someone with a car, everyone shoots him. That's it, and it's like done. Like I want to make it expensive, and I want to make America a harder target. So the way that I went from that is just my listenership went up in EPL enough for me to just have the balls to be like, I'm about to do a live event. I've got the relationships with the trainers. The trainers are all top of the line. Just they're fantastic guys. They train top agencies and fighting forces, elite fighting forces. One of the guys was a Marine, Joseph Badu. He did the hunter killer stuff for a while. He was out at Pendleton and all that stuff like for years. And so really, I just got the balls together to do it after the podcast seemed like it was doing good. And my social media platforms have grown enough to where it's like, I got to figure out a way to monetize this. And in doing that, I'll be able to make a much bigger difference and go wider, and hopefully create something that can, dude, for me, what I'm really looking for is I want someone to have something happen at some point and be like, dude, because of your videos or because of what I heard on the podcast or because of what I learned at a symposium, I was able to profile this guy. I was able to deal with this properly. I was sitting in tactically sound positioning inside the room. So I saw the dude come in. I was able to deal with it out by the door. Like that for me is just like, there's no monetary value for something like that.
Yeah.
So
I think it probably, that information definitely needs to be out there. It probably feels good to know that people are listening and implementing that stuff. Now you're talking about security. I know one thing that you do is church security. And we just started that here. And I think one of the most unfortunate things is that we learn too late. We learn after these events. Like here in Texas, we had Sutherland Springs, horrible event at a church. And now churches are starting to implement church security. And we're being proactive about stuff. And the fear that you have before it, or people are like, no, I don't want to learn that. I don't want to do that. Once it starts, it just becomes the new norm and nobody ever really pays attention to it or sees it, but you have that security element. And I think having the information out there, honestly, is really important. But when did you start doing some church security?
So I grew up ultra religious. Like mom was like Christian of Christians. I went to a Christian school. I had to watch 4 televangelists before going to my Christian school, right? So like ultra religious in church, mega church in Washington State. Went into the Marine Corps, got out, and my first executive protection gig, I'm on Rodeo Drive in Beverly Hills, and I'm interviewing, and it's like a pastor. Like it's like it's a pastor. So I'm sitting here and I'm like, can I not? Can I just not? Like, and it's one of the ones I had to watch when I was a kid. And I'm like, really? Like, I'm like, this guy turns around. I walk up to this jewelry store in Beverly Hills, and I can't even open the door because there's no handle. Because if like you're not a who's-who'sy, you don't come into place. You know what I mean? Like you can't afford to breathe our air. So I walk up, I'm like trying to open the door. They're like staring at me, the other security dudes, and then they finally open the door. I walk in, and I'm like, hey, I'm 21. Yeah, you know like it's just crazy. And he turns around, and I'm like, are you kidding me? And he's like, we do this interview. I'm in the back of a Bentley, and like I got my feet like there's so much mink on the floor. I think someone put their like jacket on the floor. So I like am holding my knees up because I'm like freaked out. Like I don't want to put my feet on this thing. Anyways, boom! From day one at 21 years old when I started, that's what in this game. It was just with faith-based ministry. It was with a pastor, and then from there I went travel the world, hit about 60 or so countries in the first 2 years. Did that on repeat for about 7 years. Got done with that. Just married. Like I can't be doing this stuff. And then started working the Cali circuit, and working everyone out here. And that turned into relationships that worked out to where, hey, dude, it's time for you to start your own business. And so now I have my own business and consulting company. And any dudes in 3-1 want to learn how to get into private security, which is like a legit career path. It is a legit career path. You make good money. It's expanding the industry. It's supposed to double in the next 10 years. Robots can't do most all this stuff, so it's pretty secure. Hit me up. Send me an email. And, dude, I will tell you everything I know on how to get in and help you in any way I can. As long as you're healthy.
Yeah, definitely. I think you definitely get some contacts from our 3-1 guys because I know a lot of people would be interested in doing that kind of work. It's pretty satisfying and probably feeds that Marine side of you a lot, right? And that feast always needs to be fed.
He does. So. It's so true. Yeah, it was like honestly, it was the perfect transition job for me because like I went through my crazy phase. Like I just by the grace of God made it. Like I got out and I was like I didn't realize it, but I think I had like an addiction to dopamine. And so like I went high into the right, was partying all the time, doing a bunch of crazy stuff. But I was still able to like be functional, ultra functional while it was time to work. Cause like, dude, we went without sleep. We went without no means. I could just simply like wash my face and go to work and just be like way more functional than like everyone else there when they were sober. And then like after work, it was just like howl at the moon and like maybe sleep, But so it was crazy. But I say all that to say, then executive protection, while it's not as like hardcore as some things you might do with the police force, it allows you that your hyper vigilance, as they call it, is an asset now. Your all the stuff you learned in the Marine Corps, you already know how to do the job. The only issue, whether or not you're going to be successful in executive protection or not, is your social dynamics. Can I put you in the car with a billionaire and have you not make an idiot of yourself? And can you be socially intelligent enough to be around a bunch of silly billions and gain cultural equity so they want to keep you around? Or are you going to be like this hardcore, cooler than everyone, bigger and badder than everyone, fish Marine or Marine, and they're going to be like, dude, like he seems like like he's a legit dude, but like he's a dick and we don't want him here. And then you just get fired for something stupid. That's the game. That's the keys to the kingdom right there.
Social currency.
Yeah, man, cultural equity. That's what saves your life. I mean, that's anywhere, but especially in our game, as people look at you, you're supposed to know everything. You're supposed to be perfect. You're supposed to get them from A to B. They got to trust you with their lives, And so you're going to make mistakes, and when you make mistakes, they hit you hard because they'll lose trust in you. So you have to have that cultural equity to cushion you. If they're like, you know what, but he's a good dude, great heart. I like the guy. He fits in to our place. That's the stuff that saves you when you make these inevitable mistakes. If you can't gain that, then you're just going to get whacked for something stupid eventually. Anyways, it's just what's going to happen.
Yeah. Well, man, we are running out of time. I want to get one more motivational comment from you for our 3-1 members, because I know you got it. I know you got it, and you give me something that's going to change the lives and set our 3-1 members on the path to productivity and making an impact.
I would honestly say, man, like, I think a lot of us have holes in our chest where we miss how hard it was. Like, I was watching Cheers to the Sun last night, and I was like, man, it was so good and legit. Like, it was just simple. Like, I was out there, and it was just simple, and it sucked, but it was, like, good. And I just remembered one of the things that really helped me was remembering how hard I was and how hard I had to be to live that life. And being like, you know what? I'm going to go after everything it is I want in my life with that same intensity. Bump sleep, bump your feelings, freaking put out. Like, I don't care how you worked all day. I don't care you worked all day, Byron. Like, literally, like, I just started to be like, treat yourself like a freaking brute at life, okay? And you can have excuses or you can have results. No one cares, bro. No one's coming to save you. No one cares about you, bro. You got to save yourself. Even God sitting up here watching you, being like, I gave you a planet. I gave you a body. This is so much. These bodies, is so much technology. Humans have no idea what the heck we're doing here right now. And you're gonna sit back here and you're gonna let this thing pass. When I got hit with however they estimated it at 60-some pounds of explosives, I feel like that was my moment where I kind of woke up and I was like, look, dude, because I thought I was dying for a minute, and I was sitting in there and I was like, I'm 19. I didn't live my life, and I remember being like, if I get a chance to go back, I'm going to live with as much purpose as I can, because that's the whole entire game here. And so if I was going to give you guys advice, dude, I'd be like, I already know you're hard. I already know you're legit. I already know you can take boot camp. You can take the senior Marines. You can take freaking deployment. You can take all the things that get stripped away from you when you go on a deployment, and freaking Murphy hitting reset on your life, and you lose your loved ones, you lose your girlfriend, you lose your wife, and you lose everything. And you know what I mean? And you can take life punching you in the face. You know what I mean? And now it's time for you to freaking dish some back out and fight for your potential and your purpose the same way, you fought the enemies that they just told us to go fight, because that's what we were down to do. Find those gears, find those programs, and run that trash again and get after it. Or die, because you are dying right now. You're dying to do everything you're doing, dude. Like, the trash you're doing right now, you're dying to do it. I'm dying to make this podcast with you because I can't get this 45 minutes back ever. Y'all are dying to listen to me like you're not. Because, you know what I'm saying? These moments are over now. So, yeah, man, that's what I'd say, dude. Get after it like a freaking 3-1 Marine at life. You're still in the fight of your life right now. And life's only going to get harder. You think you're old now? In 10 years, you're going to wish you were where you are right now. You know what I mean? Like, you think it's tough now?
Yeah. So be the balls of the core, no matter the age. Right?
Heck yeah. Absolutely.